Welcome back everybody to the Renaissance Humanism podcast. Today's episode, I will be discussing OnlyFans relationships and sexuality. Complex relationships by the chain partly due to the consumerization of sexual relationships between men and women, which means women are successfully monetizing male sexual attention and putting consumerism profit into relationships. The blame rightfully belongs not just to women, but also to men who consume and create OnlyFans content and these damaging relationships between men and women. So it turns sexual relationships into mutual masturbation sessions. What I mean by this is because men particularly are ejaculating at screens, they won't be able to function with a flesh and blood woman, and the woman she will not respect a man who jerks off to porn. Some people may think that it's culturally acceptable, which is now becoming. Uh, some may think it's culturally acceptable, which is now becoming, and some women may feel that getting looked at in the streets, giving unwanted sexual attention, would be empowering for a woman to sell her sexual imagery online for a profit. Also, as our societies have become less religious, particularly in the Western world, Western traditions, Catholicism, and the many branches of Protestantism have been in decline for over 300 years. Society has moved away from sacred and social norms, which, for better or worse, controlled male and female sexuality, provided people with a framework of how to live their lives and what made a good person as well. Um, Those spirit traditions also fall into the white side, are being replaced with consumerism, relationship becoming at best way to attract more resources from relationships. Once sexual relationships become monetized, it dehumanizes men and women, making relationships far more superficial, and something that can be quickly discarded. Now we're going to talk about the OnlyFans dream. Many young women, particularly if they're from a low socio-economic background, may feel, and possibly even correct, that they may have no prospects for their future. Therefore, the only way to be successful is to go into sex work, which includes OnlyFans content creation, which consists of sales of sexual imagery, including homemade sex scenes. Sex industry also includes prostitution, pornography, and anything that involves the marketing of sexuality, which can even be in the form of bikini pics, digital marketing, and other sales of goods. There are some positives to OnlyFans for women who work in the sex industry. It takes the power from organizations like Pornhub and gives them power to the content creators, to actual female creators, as well as giving them more freedom into who they sleep with. Regarding success, only the top 20% of OnlyFans contenters create serious money. It tends to be people who have a solid social media brand that can successfully sell their content on OnlyFans. For the amount of effort put into creating sexual content for OnlyFans, young women may be better off creating educational content that generates value not based on their sexuality and youth. As a woman gets older, their sexuality and youth becomes a depreciating asset, losing their value over time. Therefore, having a skill set based on their ability to generate wealth or the ability to sell expertise and other forms of knowledge is more valuable than just relying on sexuality. According to the author of the Rational Male series of books, commentator and YouTuber Rolta Mossy, there are 18-year-old girls and 21-year-old women entering the sexual marketplace every day. A woman in her 30s will not be able to compete with the youth and sexuality on average. And now I'm going to talk about the OnlyFans data. OnlyFans has 320 million monthly visitors. That means OnlyFans gets around 3.84 billion visitors per year. According to data from statistics.com, as of August 2022, the highest earning OnlyFans accounts were the musicians Bahad Bhabie, that's Bhabie, and Cardi B, having earned 59.8 million US dollars and 46.7 million dollars respectively. The competition for content creation on OnlyFans is massive. Only women with a dedicated and professional marketing experience are famous individuals who have built a successful brand on social media, including Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other social media platforms have actually been successful. Also, as stated above, for women desperate enough to go into the sexual industry or prostitution and unhappy with their day-to-day jobs, learning to become a social media manager or digital marketer is most likely to be a better option. Much information on digital marketing can be found for free on YouTube. Listen to digital marketers such as Neil Patel and Seth Godin, as well as free marketing blogs, is a much easier and more profitable way to success. Here is the raw data of the current competition on OnlyFans, which now has over 3 million content creators in global businesses. More than 3 million content creators are now on the subscription-based platform on OnlyFans. What is not mentioned in regards to OnlyFans are the costs to personal relationships and the psychological damage women get when using the platform will go under. They'll lose respect for men, seeing them as purely only interested in women for purely sexual reasons. The second massive impact in women using OnlyFans is that they will start to see men purely as financial resources which they must extract from. The mindset which OnlyFans creators get is similar to women working in strip clubs, which is they learn to use their sexuality, charisma, and ability to communicate successfully and intimately with men to extract revenue. As for the effects on men, they will start to see women as just beauty objects and sex objects, which will leave both men and women disgusted with one another. The relationships then just becoming transactional. I will only do something for you if you do something for me, which is a horrible way to see the world and have relationships. Now I'm going to talk about sexuality and relationships. Women during the sexual revolution between 1950s and 1970s achieved phenomenal progress in their rights, which is the ability to have sex without fear of pregnancy with the invention of the contraceptive pill in 1950, initially only available for housewives. The pill itself went mainstream and approved for release in 1960 and became hugely popular. Within 2 years, used by 1.2 million American women. It was introduced in the UK by the NHS in 1961 and for married women only listed until 1967. It's now taken by 3.5 million women in Britain between the ages of 16 and 49. The feminist author and writer Louise Perry, in her book The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, argues for the adverse outcomes of the sexual revolution, that she is broadly pro the sexual revolution. However, she argues there is not enough discussion and honest conversation are not happening about the negative and social consequences. She also stated that feminism are fearful of any criticism of the sexual revolution due to the fear of many of the gains achieved by women since 1960 could potentially be rolled back, particularly due to political instability within the United States of America recently. The current political realignment in the United States is causing political instability due to the political factions and interests within America and two-party system moved around. This has happened several times in the history of the United States. A great example of this is the Republican Party in the 1860s until the 1930s. They commanded the African American vote, which switched to the Democratic Party in 1930. Another great example is the Democrats. They used to dominate Southern America, and it was the Democrats that led the Confederacy into civil war against the United States between 1861 to 1865. Instead, now the Republicans now dominate the Southern America and the former Confederate states, and the Republicans, well, the Democrats now dominate the former Republican territories in the North and industrialized cities, and the Republicans are now in places where the Confederacy used to exist. So that's the big switch in American politics as well. And it's nothing new, it's nothing bug. And the geopolitical analyst Peter Zeihan also stated that a lot more has to go wrong for all there to be an actual civil war within America, and America is nowhere near that stage yet. And also the reason behind the actual culture wars, because the factions within American political systems are changing size. So you could have voters that were traditional a Democratic or Republican voting base, switching either to the Democrats or the Republicans. That's why the political environment is currently pretty chaotic within the United States of America. Okay, next part I'll be discussing Hugh Hefner and Marilyn Monroe. The feminist author Louise Perry, in her book The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, used the individuals who represent the winners and losers of the sexual revolution. These were Hugh Hefner and Marilyn Monroe. Louise Perry makes the argument that it was the predatory men, or men who were incredibly sexually active, who had very little interest in long-term commitment, that ultimately won the most out of the sexual revolution. She also stated it was men like Hugh Hefner who wanted women to behave as sexually depraved as themselves and to have sex like a man, who worked in their favour, because men like Hugh Hefner were interested in having sexuality and intercourse without social constraints on his sexuality. Hefner and Marilyn Monroe were also both born in 1926. Marilyn Monroe sadly died on August 1962, and Hugh Hefner died in September 2017. The reason why Marilyn Monroe and Hugh Hefner feature heavily in Louise Perry's book is because both were born in the same year, and when the Playboy magazine was first issued in 1953, its founder, Hugh Hefner, used previously unpublished nude calendar photos of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe took these photos because she lacked financial wealth, and those photos were never published with her permission. Hugh Hefner never gave her any money. Hugh Hefner had his grave placed next to Marilyn Monroe without her consent. Furthermore, neither Marilyn Monroe nor Hugh Hefner ever met face to face when they both were alive. Louise Perry makes the argument using Marilyn Monroe that the sexual revolution was a total disaster, and it was also a disaster for many young women because they were not truly being sexually liberated. It was, in fact, a certain type of man that was sexually liberated from responsibility and social conventions that traditionally limited their sexualities in the conventions of marriage and social stigma, for better or worse. Finally, I'll be discussing the freedom to choose. What the sexual revolution did was give women the freedom to choose who they want to be, who they have sex with, and when they have sex, and the opportunity to decide what their life they wanted. This was without relying on men for financial support and any other kinds of support. For example, the feminist and author The Feminine Mystique, first published in 1963 by Betty Friedan, wouldn't have been able to be a journalist, a feminist author without the support of her husband. This is a positive outcome because husband and wife support one another, should support one another and their goals and ambitions, and what relationships should be about, helping one another to achieve their dreams. What the sexual revolution did was to give women freedom without needing a man. In the United Kingdom and United States of America in the 1990s, marital rape became illegal. It wasn't until every American state that made it a crime to commit marital rape of a spouse. Marital or spouse rape is illegal in every state, but it's only been that way since 1993. Until 1976, every state had a marital exemption that allowed a husband to rape his wife without fear of legal prosecution. As for the United Kingdom in 1991, the slightly earlier when marital rape actually became illegal. It was in the case of Allen versus Allen in 1991, which changed the legal landscape completely, which made marital rape finally illegal. Uh, in the case of the man identified as I, he was convicted of attempted rape of his wife and he challenged the decision against marital rape exception, using the marital rape exception. I do hope that all people who listen to this can agree that marital rape and any form of rape within relationships, even within the bonds of marriage, is wrong, and that is a good outcome of the sexual revolution that women are given the sexual freedom, control over their own bodies. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you find it informative. I wish you all a fantastic weekend and peace out.